Round of applause to Mr. Rekhi. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence, sir. Please give a huge round of applause again. बट अभी वो स्पीच देंगे नहीं देंगे
it's been driven by the smart people, people like me who had a good fortune to end up there in America early. They were very low, no expectations, yeah, yeah, that we will do well. Yeah, when we got there, the people were very condescending towards us. Uh, yeah, yeah. If you read the book, I have stories about how the professors thought. Yeah. They thought that we would need extra help just to stay, with the classes. But I think all that has changed. We have proven to them, proven to everybody, that Indians are as sharp as people as any out there, and we are very competitive, in the knowledge area, and that got established by mid 70s. The Indians are sharp, mathematicians, engineers, programmers. But then there was this issue. Well, yeah, they have this special gene that makes them do math well. Can they sell? Can they market? Can they manage? Yeah. So there was zero expectation that we would be able to do that. And so people like me, were looking around and said, "Hey, people not as smart as us are becoming entrepreneurs, becoming managers. Why not us? Why can I be an entrepreneur? Why can I be a manager?" And of course, yeah, we weren't getting any promotions to become managers. So 1981, I said, I need to go try. I need to go try my own hand, and see if I can. 1981 was the year IBM PC was introduced. If you remember, and that was a sort of, yeah, yeah, earth-shaking event, because all of a sudden you have
Switch.
all of a sudden you have this powerful computer on your desktop. You can in these initial two applications were word processor and spreadsheet. And then it hit me that, hey, this desktop machine will have to talk to the office mainframes, office mini computers, and maybe we should do the networking, provide the networking for that. And that was the starting of Epsilon back in 1982. So we launched the company in 1982. Of course, the demand was there very quickly, and we fit the standard technology of Ethernet. Ethernet was announced as a standard by Intel, Digital, and Xerox. Around the same time as PC was announced, and we picked up the U.S. Department of Defense protocols of TCP/IP that the DoD was using on the ARPANET. And I said, we can offer networking to people very quickly using Ethernet and TCP/IP to do file transfers, remote logins, and we started to offer that. Built a pretty successful, profitable company, and we went public in 1987. So that's the rest is history. Yeah.
Wonderful. Sir, it's an honor and privilege to be in your presence. I think we all at Zaggle are really blessed to spend time with you and get inspired by you. And I wanted to dive into a few questions that I had. The one question that often pops up in my head, and I'm being selfish here, so I'm going to ask my question first to you. What do you think are good qualities of a CEO? Because in the book you mentioned that originally you had to take up the role of the CEO during a crisis, and you were possibly not viewed as the most natural CEO, but you were able to come in and turn around the company in 6 months. So what do you think are some, of course, each CEO is different. What are those few qualities that you think are like, non-negotiable in a good CEO?
So CEO's job is not to do it himself. His job is to get it done, right? The management. CEO's primary role is to define the goal that we are trying to achieve, make sure there are resources in place, and make sure the team understands, and then he steps back and monitors and let it happen. A good CEO is a good leader. Yeah, and, he has to trust in his people, and his people have to trust in him, right? A relationship of trust has to be there. If you become a micromanager where you step in every day into everything, you undermine the whole thing. You become the bottleneck. So CEO's job is to make sure the job is what is being done through the organization, using the right managers, and measure, have the metrics that he needs to see, and the I have someplace in one of my blogs, the biggest you have to be demanding of performance. You have to demand performance. That's non-negotiable.
Yeah.
If people are not performing, you can't tolerate that, because that will undermine. But you also have to be very fair. Fair means fair doesn't mean that you are easy on people. Fair means you're not asking for unreasonable things or unreasonable results. So it's the name of the job. Your role is to get the job done, in a high quality fashion, on time, through organization, and and inspire. You can crack the whip, but that doesn't work very well for very long. You have to inspire. You have to inspire people. So when I took over as a CEO in 1995, I told everybody we have 8 months worth of money. If you don't perform, we'll be all out of job. We'll be out of business. And here's what we need to do. And everybody agreed. Yep, that's the right plan, and we need to do this in less than 4 to 5 months. And everybody signed up. Less than 4 to 5 months. After that one, I didn't have to tell anybody what to do. Right. Everybody knew what needed to be done, and I was working as hard as anybody. You cannot ask your people to work harder than you. That's the other rule of a CEO. You cannot say come on Saturday and Sunday and you never show up yourself on Saturday and Sunday. So that's a part of being fair, right? I have a list of things. A good leader, good CEO, has to have. You can go search on the internet. Yes. Traits of a good entrepreneur, entrepreneurial CEO.
Yeah. So I'll also take you back a long time in your journey, and back to Kanpur when you were growing up. And in the book you mentioned about how, and it's a very interesting story. So I would encourage all the folks who are listening to this to definitely grab your copy and read it. It's something that you can't put down once you start reading. But you mentioned how your dad had very little expectations from you, while your mother was very, very, confident, and even started asking you at a very young age to keep all the accounts, and how you managed to even save 5 rupees in the family budget. So tell us the secret of how you were able to, learn the ropes at a young age, and how you coped with this variation of expectation from your parents.
So my father was in the army. He had done the commission at the time of partition. So he became, he went to war as a Jawan, came back as a Subedar, and at the time of independence in 47, he became a second lieutenant. So very proud guy. He was in his 30s when he became second lieutenant. My eldest brother, went to NDA, National Defense Academy, and became an officer. My elder brother, second elder brother, went to was very outward, physically outward person. Not strong physically. I had a speech impairment. The Indian Army, Indian Civil Service, they look for perfect physique, for perfect everything, right? So I wasn't a army officer material, and I was definitely not the IAS material. So my father had a, he was pretty, yeah, pretty vocal, that I won't amount to much. Yeah, because if he didn't get a government job, after a job, there weren't too many other jobs available. This is now in 60s, and so he said, I can't help you. You do whatever you need to do. You take care of yourself. But my mother, on the other hand, saw somebody in me who was very good with numbers. So when my father was posted away from home on the border, which was very, very often, I became the home manager, managing the family budget at the age of 12. So I would manage the whole family budget because my mother had the confidence in me, and so I learned to allocate, prioritize, make sure I got the staples that we needed for the month-long food, atta, sugar, oil, dals, right? Make sure all the tuitions for the kids were paid. Make sure highly prioritized list, and goal was to save 5 rupees at the end of the thing as a reserve, and surplus in case of there's an emergency. And so I learned to allocate very quickly, and that served me really well. Allocate and prioritize. That's the other thing I should have mentioned about a CEO. A CEO is a good allocator of resources and good prioritizer. Yeah.
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 Great. So the other question I have, and I want to leave some time for people to ask their questions in the book signing as well. But this one, this and a couple of others, I can't resist asking you, sir. Is as more and more Indian companies go global, like companies like Zaggle, we are looking to go global, especially looking at markets like the States, where many of us have spent time, studied, worked. What advice would you give to companies, especially SaaS companies, technology companies from India, going to the US? And what do you think we need to do to be successful in a very large market, but a very competitive market?
Yeah. So the Indian IT industry started by what I would call the labor arbiters. We have smart people here. There's a need for they work in US. Can I do the work here, and because there was no market for the IT services in India. So the people like Narayana Murthy and all those early entrepreneurs, they did a superb job of matching the demand with the supply in India, and of course invest in the trading. So the model was to serve the U.S. market, with using the Indian talent in India, and they kept upgrading the skill set, upgrading the type of what they were taking on, complexity of jobs. So after several years of that, you end up having people who are up to speed on the tools. They know the customers, they know the customer needs, and after many of them start to spin off and do their own startups. But the model is same. I'm solving the problem of a customer in the US. Indian market has developed now nicely, but the early days of this whole industry was serving the US market as a primary goal. So and that has served Indian entrepreneurs very, very well. The US customers are demanding customers. Competition is tough. I need to maintain my quality. I need to be able to provide services, service they need. So and the SaaS companies coming out of India, are doing a superb job as a result of that. Now Indian market has become large enough that you don't have to go to US. But my advice would be to stay focused on the global market because yeah, you got to benchmark, you got to compete against the best of the best in the world. Just to stay with the game. You can service Indian market, but you know, yeah, my advice would be to take the broader perspective.
Thank you. Thank you for that. The other question I had was on the young entrepreneurs and the young professionals that we have in Zaggle. Your note mentioned that you're looking to build or inspire other entrepreneurs to build an ecosystem of 10 million entrepreneurs from India. What advice would you have for young people, both who are working at Zaggle and young people in India in general, as they embark on their journeys in their professional life?
So India has a split personality. There's the India of metros, Hyderabad, Bombay, Delhi, Chennai, modern, dynamic, confident. But then there's this Bharat, which is the second, third tier, fourth tier cities and the villages, which was left behind. There was a benign neglect of that part of India. You cannot have half your body, not strong. If only half of your body is strong, you're not going to be a healthy person. So the point I'm making is that we have now become the entrepreneurial country. We have now the technology savviness. Why can't we have younger people take this technology back to their hometown, solve the local problems, back to their villages? Why is an American 30 times more productive than an average Indian? Indian GDP per person is $2,500. Indian GDP per person, US GDP per person is $75,000. It's not that they work harder. It's not that they are smarter than us. They are using technology, they are using modern tools. So my theory is that we ought to think about 10 million micro entrepreneurs, not all of them micro, who are going back, looking at the problems in their neighborhood, in their villages. Can I take the solar cells and the water pump to rather than use the bullet cart to pump the water out? Can I provide the drip emitter system controlled by electronics? Can I do the soil analysis to see what's the best crop to be growing over there? Can we provide the connectivity on the other end, to the farmer, to the market, using technology? So my dream is that we ought to have younger people, starting, all over India. So we have set up in Nizamabad a sort of a rural entrepreneurship center, where we are starting to train younger people, to how to think like an entrepreneur. And you'll see a post from me pretty soon. We have last night, yesterday, I talked to 4 entrepreneurs, and one of them was the son of a farmer who went and did his BTET. He went back to the village and started looking at the tools that all the farmers in the village use, and he started to redesign the tools. And all of a sudden, these tools are improving the work for things. Now he has a company selling those tools to 70,000 farmers in Telangana already, and in the last 2-3 years.
Amazing.
It's amazing, right? So can we replicate this thing? This guy has now ideas how to do the tools for farmers to improve his productivity. See, unlike before, with solar stuff, we can do. We don't have to wait for an electricity plant to be set up. You can have your lotto plant, your battery and so on, and you can have the power tools in the villages. That wasn't possible. So the point is that that's what it will take for India to leapfrog, get back into thing. We cannot leave Bharat behind. We cannot.
Yes.
Just not a viable option.
Sounds right, sir. Uh, any last parting thoughts, especially in terms of risk taking? Any ideas that you have for young people and all of us as to how we should approach work and life in general?
The risk is in the eyes of the beholder, right? There's no reward unless you take the risk. Your risk and rewards are matched pair. The more risk you take, more likely to get a bit reward. So if you are afraid to fail, you will go nowhere. Failure is part of success. You have to you have to stumble, you have to fall a few times. Learning to ride bicycle, you will fall a few times before you will learn to balance yourself. That same true is in business. So you need to develop a risk tolerance, but also the risk. A failure is not fatal most of the time. It's more of a shame than anything else. You have to learn to not worry about that. And so an entrepreneur has to by the way, entrepreneurial risks are not as risky as they appear to the others, because the entrepreneurs brings a special insight. Younger people have a capacity to take risks anyway. You're 24, you spend 2 years and then work out, you're still 26. So it's not as if the end of the world, right? And the most entrepreneurs I know fail once or twice before they really nail it. And that's in the nature of the beast. So.
Thank you so much. I think this was really insightful and inspirational, sir, and we will cherish this occasion for a very, very long time. We have a small token of gratitude to give to you, and post that we'll request you to sign a few books.
Okay.
If that's
okay. Maybe we should open up to the audience for a couple of questions.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I forgot that. Yeah. Anybody has any questions, please reach out. Yeah.
Hi, sir. Lovely to meet you. But as you said that failure is a part of success, what would you say one kind of failure that you would have faced back in the day that eventually was a catalyst in your eventual success that came your way?
So when we went to America, right, we all did whatever needed to be done to survive. Nobody in India had to know that I had to do dishes at hotel, at minimum salary. You do whatever needs to do to be done. I got laid off 3 times my early career. My first job, in New Jersey, in 1969, we put a man on the moon in the US, July 19th, 1969, I remember the day. But we had no follow-up program. Apollo program had 4 or 5 more launches, but there was no new plans. NASA was a big employer of engineers. NASA contractors were a big employer of engineers. All of a sudden, overnight demand disappeared for the engineers. They were importing engineers from India. They were producing more engineers to compete with Russia, but there was no follow-up. So the demand for engineers disappeared. And also at the same time, mini computer industry, which had just emerged as an employer of engineers, was starting to consolidate. Digital and Data Journal emerged as the winners. There were 30, 40 mini torpedo companies which were shutting down, including the one I worked for. So I got laid off in 7 months. And so I took a second job, in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, and I was there 7, 8 months. I got laid off second time. And I said, what happened here? I had just, I was just getting married at the time. And my third job, I went to work for a large company, RCA. RCA was a RCA computer system, RCA television, RCA owned NBC TV. And then there, I got laid off third time because RCA was not able to compete with IBM anymore on the mainframe side. So within 2 years, I got laid off 3 times. And it will devastate anybody. But I had just gotten married. Me and my wife, we packed up our stuff and moved from Florida to California, the other side of the US, almost 3,000 miles. And there was this new valley, Santa Clara Valley, where the companies were starting to happen. Intel, AMD, or startups. So I showed up in Silicon Valley in 1971. But I told myself, I got laid off 3 times because I wasn't paying attention to the company's business side. When they hired me, I looked at the work they were offering me, but I didn't look to see if they were viable in the marketplace. So I need to learn to understand, the business side of the business. But also, I told him, I need to, make sure nobody ever lays me off ever again. I need to be on top of things. And so for about next 3-4 years, I always was interviewing, always had a new job offers in my pocket. Because I didn't want to be taught, laid off before. And so it was, another 3-4 years before I felt, that, confident enough that nobody would lay me off because I was very good in what I was doing. So, the earlier, that failures, the layoffs, toughened me as an individual. It also cleared my head, a job is not a job security. Companies will keep you if companies are viable, they have need for your services. Company will let you go like that, if they are not viable, if they are in trouble. So, so when you work for somebody else, you need to make sure the company is viable.
Yeah.
And company has a business. They are competitive in the marketplace. But also, back in 73, 74, I told myself, I need to take, my own destiny in my own hands. And that was the starting point for me becoming an entrepreneur.
Thank you. Any other questions? Please feel free. Yeah.
Somebody was there.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir. So my question is you have seen the entire world change from 1960s to now. It's changed completely.
Mm-hmm.
The evolution which we have seen in a century is now within a decade. So what do you suggest or recommend would be one thing which will ensure that you're always ahead of the competition?
Yeah. So you hit the nail on the head, right? There's a constant change. The technology has been improving. The Moore's law. And now AI. And who knows what next, right? And so when the world is constantly changing, how should you respond? You cannot fight the change. You'll be brushed aside. You can accept the change and become one of the employees and that training, or you can become a change maker. Change maker is when you go and disrupt the things, and that's what the entrepreneurs are.
Yes.
So so you have to decide where you want to fit on the curve. But one thing is clear: you have to constantly learn. Whatever that you know now is going to be obsolete soon. So you cannot sit on your duff for very long. Learning. When I went to California for 6 years in a row, I went every morning at 7, either to Stanford or to Santa Clara University to take courses. I was a hardware engineer. I took courses in software. I took courses in business. I took courses in law. Yeah, just to broaden my horizon. And by the end of 70s, I thought I was ready to take on the world. So you have to prepare by learning the thing. At some place, you have to get ahead of the game and make the waves yourself. Become the entrepreneur.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, please. Last one.
Good evening, sir. My name is Krishna. You are also an investor. You also run a partner firm for investments. My question is, what are the 3 qualities which you look in an entrepreneur while investing? Is it the startup, or because right now with the longevity, which is a larger challenge, or is it the moat? What are the 3 things which you look at while investing in an entity?
Yeah. So the markets and technologies are always changing. They are always changing. So you cannot invest in a technology in the market alone. So I, as an individual, I've learned that the bet has to be on the individual, not on the business plan itself. And then you go and search on the internet. I have a paper written, the entrepreneurial traits, that I look for in a person. Not everybody is going to be an entrepreneur. Only a small percentage of people succeed as an entrepreneur. No more than 2% in America. The number is much smaller in India. So, but nobody knows who is going to be an entrepreneurial success and who is going to fail. So if you knew, that would be easy, right? So you develop your own pattern recognition, and I have mine in that article I mentioned. The name of the game is to improve your odds of success as an investor by having richer mix of potential winners. And so looking from the entrepreneur side, most entrepreneurs fail. 1 in 52% succeed. Very poor odds. Why would you do it? Why would you do it? A rational person will not place that bet. But here's the magic. If you become an entrepreneur and able to sustain yourself for 6 months to a year, that small period, and still have the fire in your tummy, your odds improve tenfold. Because 90% of the people drop out within the first 6 months. So now you're part of that 10% of self-selected, self-sustained people, and instead of 2%, now your odds of success are 20%. And 20% are very good odds in this business. 3 times you try and almost a sure thing, right? And once you succeed, you're set for life. So you have to drive. You give yourself a chance to become. See if you're one of those 2%. Nobody will tell you from outside. No mother, no father says, "Beta entrepreneur bano." Beta doctor bano. Yes. Beta engineer bano, right? Beta settle ho jao. Beta thoda discipline dikhao, right? The notion is that if you're an entrepreneur, you're indisciplined, you're unsettled, right? So you have to drive that from inside. But nobody has a right to tell you to put yourself through hardship anyway, right? You're going through entrepreneurship, is putting yourself through hardship for 2 to 3 years. Then I think we should sign a few books and then we have to do.
Thank you so much. So we have a small gift for you. If you can pass it on. You can sit.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can chime in my lap.
Or we can bring a small table here. Yeah. Table लेके आ जाना. Hectic schedule in India, sir. Hectic schedule.
We are here 3 more weeks.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it's a long trip. Yeah, 5 weeks of. Yeah.
I missed meeting you in Mumbai. I'm based out of Mumbai, but
Oh, yeah.
I missed
Okay.
meeting you there.
Yeah, Mumbai went very